The photograph made Robert Harrison's blood run cold. His granddaughter, 19 years old, sleeping on a bench outside Union Station. A backpack as her pillow. Newspaper as her blanket. He'd wired $2.3 million over 17 years. Monthly payments. Never missed once. $15,000 every single month. This can't be right, Robert whispered, his throat tight. Where's Elena? His private investigator, Marcus Webb, placed another photo on the desk. She's been on the streets for 4 months, Mr. Harrison. Before that, a youth shelter on the South Side. Robert built a pharmaceutical empire worth $4 billion. He'd negotiated with governments, saved millions of lives with affordable medication, employed 30,000 people. But he couldn't protect one girl. His only son died in a helicopter crash. His daughter-in-law died giving birth. And the woman he'd trusted to raise Elena, his former daughter-in-law's best friend, had vanished with every penny. Someone was about to pay. But first, Robert needed to find his granddaughter before the Chicago winter killed her. Welcome to Echoes and Endings. If you're loving this story and you want to find out what happens next, quickly hit that like button and subscribe, because what you're about to watch would leave you wondering. Tell me in the comments which city you're watching from. I'd really love to know. Now let's dive into this amazing story. 17 years earlier, the hospital chaplain's hand rested on Robert Harrison's shoulder. Mr. Harrison, would you like to see your son one last time before? No. Robert's voice was hollow. I saw him. That's enough. Daniel Harrison, 32 years old. Brilliant surgeon. Helicopter pilot. Dead because he'd wanted to surprise his pregnant wife by flying home early from a medical conference in Denver. The helicopter went down in a thunderstorm over the Rockies. No survivors. And 3 hours ago, Daniel's wife Ruby went into premature labor from the shock of the news. The baby survived. Ruby didn't. Complications. Hemorrhaging. Gone within minutes. Robert sat in the hospital waiting room, 71 years old, staring at his hands. These hands had built Harrison Pharmaceuticals from nothing. Had signed billion-dollar deals. Had shaken hands with presidents. Now they felt useless. A nurse approached. Mr. Harrison, would you like to hold your granddaughter? Robert looked up. The nurse held a tiny bundle wrapped in pink. So impossibly small. I don't. Robert's voice cracked. I don't know how. The nurse smiled gently. Neither did any parent the first time. Come on. She placed the baby in his arms. Elena. Ruby had chosen the name months ago. Elena Rose Harrison. She had Daniel's nose. Ruby's dark hair. She was perfect. And Robert had no idea what to do with her. Few days later. Mr. Harrison, you have a visitor. Robert looked up from his home office. He'd been trying to work, trying to focus on quarterly reports. The company needed him. 30,000 employees depended on decisions he was supposed to be making. Instead, he'd been staring at a photo of Daniel for 3 hours. Who is it? A Ms. Vanessa Torres. She says she was Ruby's best friend. Robert frowned. Ruby had mentioned a Vanessa. College roommate. Bridesmaid at the wedding 5 years ago. Send her in. Vanessa Torres entered wearing a black dress, her eyes red from crying. She was young, maybe 30, with auburn hair pulled back in a neat bun. Mr. Harrison, I'm so sorry for your loss. Her voice trembled. Ruby was. She was my sister in every way that mattered. Robert nodded. Thank you for coming. I know this is a terrible time, but I needed to speak with you about Elena. Vanessa sat down without being invited. Bold. I know you're grieving. I know you're overwhelmed. But Mr. Harrison, that baby needs someone who can be there full-time. Robert's jaw tightened. What are you suggesting? I'm a pediatric nurse. I work 3 12-hour shifts a week, which means I have 4 days off. I have a 3-bedroom house in Lincoln Park. I'm single, no children, no major obligations. Vanessa leaned forward. Ruby and I talked about this once, hypothetically. If anything ever happened to her and Daniel, she wanted me to take care of Elena. She never put that in writing. Because she was 29 years old and healthy, she didn't think she needed to. Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. But she told me, Mr. Harrison. She made me promise. And I'm here to keep that promise. Robert studied her. Vanessa seemed sincere. Grief was written all over her face. But something felt off. Why didn't you come to the funeral? Robert asked quietly. Vanessa blinked. I was working. A shift I couldn't get covered. I sent flowers. My son and daughter-in-law died. Your supposed best friend. And you couldn't miss one shift. Vanessa's expression hardened slightly, then softened again. You're right. I should have been there. I was a coward, Mr. Harrison. I couldn't face it. Couldn't face seeing Ruby's casket. Her voice broke. But I'm here now. And I'm asking you, begging you, let me honor Ruby's wishes. Let me raise Elena. Robert looked at the ceiling. He was 71. He traveled constantly. Shanghai, London, Berlin, Sao Paulo. Board meetings across 3 continents. The company was in the middle of a major expansion into gene therapy research. A baby needed stability. Routine. Someone who could be present. Not a grief-stricken workaholic grandfather who'd already failed once as a father. Choosing business over Daniel's soccer games, missing his high school graduation for a merger in Tokyo. I'll provide everything financially, Robert said finally. Everything. Education, healthcare activities, college fund. Everything. Vanessa's face lit up. Mr. Harrison, that's so generous, but you don't have to. $15,000 a month. Deposited into an account for Elena's care. You'll have full access as her legal guardian. That's incredibly generous. And I'll visit. Regularly. Of course. Anytime. Robert stood. Extended his hand. Then we have an agreement. Vanessa shook it. Her grip was firm. Confident. Too confident. Because Vanessa Torres hadn't been Ruby's best friend. She'd been Ruby's college roommate for exactly 1 semester before Ruby requested a room change. Before Vanessa dropped out. Before years of resentment festered while Ruby lived the life Vanessa thought she deserved. Vanessa had shown up at Daniel and Ruby's wedding uninvited. Had been escorted out by security. Ruby had filed a restraining order 3 years ago that expired 2 months before her death. But Robert didn't know any of this. He was too buried in grief to do a background check. Too desperate to believe someone actually wanted to help. Too willing to throw money at the problem instead of facing it himself. And Vanessa Torres was counting on exactly that. She left the Harrison estate that evening with legal guardianship papers, a monthly allowance of $15,000, and absolutely no intention of ever letting Robert Harrison see his granddaughter again. 2 years later, Robert Harrison stood outside a modest 2-story house in Lincoln Park, holding a wrapped present. Elena's 2nd birthday. He'd called Vanessa 3 times that week. Each call went to voicemail. Mr. Harrison, I'm so sorry. Elena's been sick with a terrible flu. The doctor says no visitors for at least 2 weeks. I don't want you catching anything. That was the message from last month when he tried to visit for Thanksgiving. Before that, it was Elena's going through a difficult adjustment phase. The pediatrician says too many transitions might be harmful. Before that, I'm taking Elena to visit my family in Arizona for the holidays. Robert had seen his granddaughter exactly 4 times in 2 years. 4 times. Something felt wrong. He knocked on the door. No answer. He knocked again. Harder. A neighbor, an elderly woman watering plants, called out. You looking for Vanessa? Yes. Is she home? Haven't seen her in 3 days. She comes and goes, that one. Sometimes gone for weeks. The woman walked closer, squinting. You're that rich fellow, aren't you? The one who gave her guardianship. Robert's stomach tightened. Do you ever see a little girl? About 2 years old. The woman's face scrunched in confusion. A girl. No, honey. Vanessa lives alone. Has since she moved in. Robert's heart stopped. That can't be right. She's raising my granddaughter. There's no child in that house, I can promise you that. These walls are thin. I'd hear a toddler. The woman shook her head. Maybe she's got the kid somewhere else? Daycare. Robert pulled out his phone with shaking hands. He called Vanessa. Straight to voicemail. He called his lawyer. Tom, I need you to do something right now. Today. This minute. Robert, what's wrong? I need a welfare check on Elena. And I need a private investigator. The best you can find. What happened? I don't know yet. But I'm about to find out. Underscore 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 underscore. Few weeks later, Marcus Webb sat across from Robert with a manila folder. Mr. Harrison, you're not going to like what I found. Just tell me. Marcus opened the folder. Bank statements. Receipts. Photographs. Vanessa Torres has been withdrawing the full $15,000 every month like clockwork. But she's not spending it on your granddaughter. He slid papers across the desk. 2 years ago, she purchased a luxury condo in Miami. Cash. $420,000. Another paper. She bought a Mercedes G-Wagon. $75,000. Cash. Another. She's taken 11 international trips. Paris. Dubai. Bali. Always first class. 5-star hotels. Robert's hands clenched into fists. Where's Elena? Marcus hesitated. That's the part you're really not going to like. He placed a photograph on the desk. A rundown apartment building in Englewood. Bars on windows. Graffiti on walls. Elena's been living here. With Vanessa's mother, Patricia Torres. Patricia is 68, disabled, living on Social Security. Robert stared at the photo. Vanessa dumped her with her mother? 6 months after getting guardianship. Patricia had no idea about the trust fund. She thinks Vanessa sends $200 a month to help with Elena's care. Marcus's voice was tight with controlled anger. $200, Mr. Harrison. Out of 15,000. I want to see my granddaughter. Now. There's more. Marcus pulled out another document. Patricia Torres has early-stage dementia. Some days she's lucid. Other days. He trailed off. I spoke with neighbors. They say they often see Elena outside alone, playing in the alley. Sometimes after dark. Robert stood abruptly. Get the car. We're going there right now. Mr. Harrison, I have to advise you to go through legal channels. Get the car. The apartment building looked worse in person. Robert climbed stairs that smelled like urine and mildew. His heart hammered. He was 73 years old, worth $4 billion, and he was about to see his granddaughter for the first time in over a year. Living in poverty while her guardian lived in luxury. Apartment 3C. He knocked. Shuffling footsteps. The door opened a crack. An elderly woman peered out, eyes cloudy and suspicious. Mrs. Torres? My name is Robert Harrison. I'm Elena's grandfather. Patricia's face showed no recognition. Elena. Yes. Your granddaughter. She lives with you. Oh. The little one. Yes, yes. Come in. Patricia opened the door wider. The apartment was cramped. Cluttered. A small living room with a sagging couch. Toys scattered on a threadbare carpet. The walls were thin. Robert could hear neighbors arguing through them. Where is she? Robert asked gently. Who? Elena. The little girl. Patricia looked confused. Then her eyes cleared slightly. Oh, she's in her room. Down the hall. Who are you again? I'm her grandfather. Robert walked down a narrow hallway. 3 doors. 1 bathroom. 1 bedroom with an unmade bed, Patricia's. And 1 small room at the end. He pushed open the door. The room was tiny. barely bigger than a closet. A small bed with faded sheets. No decorations. No bookshelf. Just a cardboard box of broken toys in the corner. And on the bed, curled up with a stuffed rabbit, was Elena. 2 years old. Almost 3 now. She was so small. Too small. Her clothes were worn. Her hair needed washing. She clutched that rabbit like it was the only thing in the world that belonged to her. Robert's knees nearly gave out. This was his fault. He'd sent money and called it love. He'd trusted a stranger and called it responsibility. He'd stayed away because visits were inconvenient, and called it respecting boundaries. Elena, he whispered. The little girl's eyes opened. Big, brown. Daniel's eyes. She looked at him without recognition. Without fear. Just blank. Hi, sweetheart. My name is Robert. I'm his voice cracked. I'm your grandpa. Elena stared at him. Then she turned back to her rabbit. Like he didn't exist. Like he'd never existed. What would be the first thing you'd do if you encountered something like this? Would you confront Vanessa first, or would you focus on getting Elena to safety? Drop your answer in the comments. I'm really curious what you think. Robert sat on the edge of Elena's bed. The mattress springs creaked. Elena, do you know who I am? No response. Does anyone talk about me? About your daddy? About? Sure. Elena pressed a finger to her lips. Gamma sleeping. Her voice. God, her voice. So small. So quiet. Okay. We'll be quiet. Robert's chest felt like it was caving in. Elena, can I ask you something? Does Miss Vanessa visit you? Elena shook her head. When was the last time you saw her? Elena shrugged. She didn't know. She was 2 years old. Time didn't exist for her yet. Does Gamma take care of you? Sometimes. Elena hugged her rabbit tighter. Sometimes Gamma forgets. Forgets what? Dinner. And stories. And. Elena's lower lip trembled. And me. Robert reached out slowly. Carefully. And he placed his hand over Elena's tiny one. She didn't pull away. I'm going to fix this, he whispered. I promise you, Elena. I'm going to fix everything. Robert sat in the back seat, staring at his phone. Marcus was in the driver's seat, waiting for instructions. Mr. Harrison, what do you want to do? Robert's jaw clenched. Find Vanessa Torres. I don't care if she's in Miami or Mars. Find her. Already on it. She posted on Instagram 2 hours ago. She's at a resort in Cabo San Lucas. Robert looked up. She's on vacation? 5th one this year. Marcus pulled up the Instagram post on his tablet. Showed it to Robert. The photo made Robert's vision blur with rage. Vanessa Torres. Poolside. Designer sunglasses. Expensive cocktail. Caption. Living my best life. Blessed beyond measure. Hashtag grateful, hashtag paradise, hashtag living the dream. Living her best life. While Elena slept in a room the size of a closet with a grandmother who forgot to feed her. Book me a flight, Robert said quietly. To Cabo. Tonight. Mr. Harrison let the lawyers handle. Book. The flight. Next day. The resort was exactly the kind of place $15,000 a month could afford if you weren't spending it on a child. Infinity pools. Private cabanas. Staff who called you by name. Robert walked through the lobby wearing a simple polo and slacks. He looked like any other wealthy tourist. Marcus had done his homework. Vanessa was at the pool bar. Same spot she'd been every afternoon for the past 4 days. Robert found her easily. She wore a white bikini. Designer bag on the chair beside her. Phone in one hand. Margarita in the other. She was laughing at something on her screen. Robert approached slowly. Vanessa Torres? She looked up. Her smile froze. For 3 seconds, neither of them moved. Then Vanessa's face transformed into a mask of surprise and delight. Mr. Harrison. Oh my God, what are you doing here? What a coincidence. Is it? Her smile faltered. Just slightly. I'm sorry. I said, is it a coincidence? Robert pulled out the chair across from her. Sat down. Because I've been trying to reach you for 3 weeks. And here you are. In Mexico. Living your best life. Vanessa set down her drink carefully. Mr. Harrison, I can explain. Where's Elena? She's with my mother. I told you. My mom offered to watch her for a few days while I took a mental health break. Raising a toddler is exhausting. Your mother has dementia. Vanessa's face went pale. Your mother lives in a 1-bedroom apartment in Englewood that I wouldn't house my dog in. Your mother gets $200 a month from you. Out of $15,000. Robert leaned forward. Where's the rest of the money, Vanessa? I don't know what you're talking about. The condo in Miami. The Mercedes. The 11 international trips. Should I keep going? Vanessa's hands started shaking. She grabbed her drink. Took a long sip. Mr. Harrison, you're misunderstanding. I saw Elena yesterday. Vanessa choked on her margarita. I held her hand. I saw the room she sleeps in. I saw the clothes she wears. I watched her clutch a stuffed rabbit like it was the only thing in the world she owned. Robert's voice was deadly calm. And then I came here. And I saw you. Living in luxury. On money meant for my granddaughter. You had no right. I had every right. Robert's voice cracked through the poolside ambience. Other guests turned to stare. She's my granddaughter. My son's daughter. And you've been stealing from her. From a child. Vanessa stood abruptly. I need to go. Sit down. Something in Robert's tone made her freeze. Sit down. Vanessa sat. Robert pulled out his phone. Opened a voice recording app. Hit record. Tell me the truth. Right now. Were you ever Ruby's friend? Vanessa's lips pressed into a thin line. I can make this very easy or very hard for you, Vanessa. The easy way is you tell me everything. The hard way involves federal prosecutors, fraud charges, and the media writing stories about how you stole millions from an orphaned baby. Robert's eyes were ice. Your choice. Vanessa's facade finally cracked. Fine. You want the truth. Her voice turned bitter. No. I wasn't Ruby's friend. She was a spoiled little princess who had everything handed to her. Perfect life. Perfect husband. Perfect future. And you wanted it. I deserved it. I worked twice as hard as she did. But she got the scholarships. She got the internships. She got the doctor husband with the billionaire father. Vanessa laughed, a sharp, ugly sound. And then she died. And I saw an opportunity. An opportunity to rob a dead woman's child. An opportunity to finally get what I deserved. Do you know how hard I worked? How many night shifts I pulled? And for what? A crappy apartment and student loans I'd be paying off until I'm 60. Vanessa's eyes blazed. That money was my chance. My chance to finally live. That money wasn't yours. It is now. Robert stopped the recording. Slipped his phone back into his pocket. No, he said quietly. It isn't. Vanessa's confidence wavered. What do you mean? I mean, you just confessed to fraud, embezzlement, and child endangerment. On a recorded conversation. Robert stood. I mean, there are 2 federal agents waiting in the lobby right now with a warrant for your arrest. Vanessa's face went white. You're bluffing. Am I? Robert turned and walked away. Behind him, he heard Vanessa scramble to her feet. Wait. Mr. Harrison, wait. We can work this out. I'll give the money back. I'll. 2 men in suits appeared from the lobby entrance. Vanessa Torres? No. No, this is a mistake. You're under arrest for wire fraud, embezzlement, and child endangerment. You have the right to remain silent. Robert didn't stay to watch. He walked through the resort lobby, out into the Mexican sunshine, and pulled out his phone. called his lawyer. "Tom, I need emergency custody filed today. I don't care what it costs. I don't care what strings you have to pull." His voice was firm, final. Elena comes home. Today. The legal system moved slowly, but money moved faster. Robert hired the best family lawyer in Illinois, filed for emergency custody, presented evidence of fraud, neglect, endangerment, the recordings, the bank statements, the photographs. A judge reviewed the case in 48 hours. Vanessa Torres was in federal custody, denied bail. Patricia Torres was deemed unfit due to her medical condition, though Robert made sure she be taken care of, placed in an assisted living facility with full medical care. It wasn't her fault. She'd done her best with what she had. And Elena. Elena was coming home. Robert stood in the hallway of that Englewood apartment, watching as a social worker gently packed Elena's few belongings into a small suitcase. The stuffed rabbit. 3 outfits. A broken doll. That was everything she owned. Everything his $15,000 a month had bought her. "Ready, Mr. Harrison?" the social worker asked. Robert nodded. He walked into Elena's tiny room one last time. She sat on the bed, clutching her rabbit, watching him with those big brown eyes. "Elena, sweetheart, remember me? I'm your grandpa." She nodded slowly. "I'm taking you home. To my house, where you'll have your own room, and toys, and books, and anything you want." Robert knelt down to her level. "Is that okay?" Elena looked at her rabbit, then back at Robert. "Will Gamma come?" Robert's heart broke. Gamma's going to a special place where doctors can help her feel better. "But you and me, we're going to be a family. Just us. Is that okay?" Elena thought about this for a long moment. Then she slid off the bed, walked over to Robert, and placed her tiny hand in his. "Okay, Grandpa." A week later, Elena stood in the doorway of her new bedroom, still clutching her rabbit. The room was bigger than Patricia's entire apartment. A canopy bed with pink sheets. A bookshelf filled with children's books. A toy chest overflowing with stuffed animals. A closet full of new clothes, all in her size. But Elena didn't move. She just stood there, staring. "Do you like it?" Robert asked softly. Elena nodded. But she didn't go inside. "You can go in, sweetheart. It's your room. Everything in there is yours." She looked up at him. "Mine?" "Yes. All yours." Elena took one tentative step inside, then stopped, like she was waiting for permission, or waiting for someone to tell her it was a mistake. Robert's chest tightened. This little girl didn't know what it meant to have something that belonged to her. "Elena, would you like to pick out a toy? Any toy you want." She walked slowly to the toy chest, looked inside. Her eyes went wide. So many toys. Colors. Shapes. Things that made noise and lit up and moved. She reached in carefully, pulled out a small stuffed elephant. Just one. That's it. Just the elephant. Robert asked gently. Elena nodded, hugged the elephant close to her rabbit. She didn't understand that she could have more, that she didn't have to choose just one. "Elena, all of these toys are yours. You can play with all of them, anytime you want." She blinked, confused. All of them." Elena's lower lip trembled. And then, for the first time since Robert had found her, she cried. Not sad crying. Something else. Something deeper. Relief, maybe. Or disbelief. Or the overwhelming weight of finally being seen. Robert knelt down and pulled her into his arms. She didn't resist. She just melted into him, clutching her rabbit and elephant, and sobbed into his shoulder. "It's okay, sweetheart. You're safe now. I promise. You're safe." 2 months later, Dr. Sarah Mitchell, child psychologist, sat across from Robert in his study. "Mr. Harrison, I want to be honest with you. Elena's been through significant trauma. Neglect, instability, emotional abandonment. She's going to need time. How much time? That's impossible to say. Every child is different. Dr. Mitchell folded her hands. Right now, Elena doesn't trust that good things are permanent. She hoards food in her room because she's afraid there won't be more. She apologizes constantly because she's learned that existing is a burden. She doesn't ask for things because she's been taught her needs don't matter. Robert's jaw clenched. What do I do? You keep showing up. Every day. Consistently. You prove to her that you're not going anywhere. That she's not too much. That she deserves to take up space. Dr. Mitchell's expression softened. And Mr. Harrison, you need to forgive yourself. For what? For not knowing. For trusting the wrong person. For the 17 years she spent invisible. Dr. Mitchell leaned forward. I can see the guilt eating you alive. But Elena doesn't need your guilt. She needs your presence. Robert looked away. I should have checked. Should have visited more. Should have. Should have isn't going to help her now. Being here will. Robert was learning to cook. At 73 years old, after a lifetime of personal chefs and restaurant meals, he was learning to make grilled cheese sandwiches and chicken nuggets. Because Elena needed routine. Normal. A grandfather who made her dinner. Not a billionaire who paid someone else to do it. Grandpa. Elena's small voice came from the doorway. Robert turned. She wore pajamas with dinosaurs on them. Her hair was damp from her bath. Hey, sweetheart. Hungry? She nodded. Grilled cheese okay? Another nod. She climbed onto a stool at the kitchen island. Watched him work. They ate in comfortable silence. Well, mostly silence. Robert asked questions. Elena gave one-word answers. But she was there. Present. Eating without hoarding food in her pockets for later. Progress. After dinner, Robert said, Want to hear a story about your daddy? Elena's eyes widened. She nodded eagerly. They moved to the living room. Robert pulled out a photo album he'd dug out of storage. This was your daddy when he was 7 years old. See. He's holding a baseball bat. He loved baseball. Elena traced her finger over the photo. He looks like me. He does. You have his eyes. And his smile when you smile. Did he love me? The question hit Robert like a punch to the gut. Oh, Elena. So much. More than anything in the world. Robert's voice cracked. He died trying to get home to you. He was so excited to meet you. He had your nursery all painted. He picked out stuffed animals. He read parenting books. Then why didn't he stay? Robert pulled her onto his lap. Because sometimes bad things happen. Not because we want them to. Not because we deserve them. They just happen. But your daddy loved you. And your mama loved you. And he swallowed hard. I love you too. So much. Elena was quiet for a long moment. Then she whispered, I love you too, Grandpa. It was the first time she'd said it. Robert closed his eyes. Held her close. Maybe Dr. Mitchell was right. Maybe all Elena needed was time. And consistency. And someone who showed up. He could do that. He would do that. Before we continue, I need to ask you something. Do you think Robert should tell Elena the full truth about what Vanessa did when she's older? Or should he let her move forward without that burden? It's a tough question. Let me know what you think in the comments. 6 months later. Robert's lawyer called on a Tuesday morning. Robert, we have a problem. What kind of problem? Vanessa's legal team is filing a motion. They're claiming the recorded confession was obtained under duress. That you coerced her. They're trying to get it thrown out. Robert's blood went cold. Can they do that? They can try. And if they succeed, the fraud charges might not stick. She could walk. What about the embezzlement? The bank records? Circumstantial without the confession. Her lawyers are arguing she was authorized to use the money as she saw fit for Elena's care. That the guardianship agreement gave her full discretion. That's insane. It's a legal gray area. You gave her guardianship. You gave her access to the funds. You didn't put restrictions on how the money was spent. Tom's voice was grim. Robert, without that confession, we might not have a case. Robert sank into his chair. If Vanessa walked free, what happened then? Could she sue for custody again? Could she claim she was the victim? There has to be something else. Some other evidence. I'm working on it. But Robert, you need to prepare for the possibility that Vanessa might not see the inside of a prison cell. Robert hung up, looked out his window at the backyard, where Elena was playing with a golden retriever puppy he'd gotten her last month. She was laughing. Actually laughing. Learning to be a kid again. And somewhere in a jail cell, the woman who'd stolen her childhood was planning her way back to freedom. Later that night, Robert couldn't sleep. He sat at his desk, going through Vanessa's financial records for the 100th time. There had to be something. Something his lawyers missed. He pulled up her bank statements. Scrolled through transactions. Miami condo. Mercedes. Trips to Paris, Dubai, Bali. Wait. He scrolled back. There. A transaction from 14 months ago. A wire transfer. $50,000. To an account in the Cayman Islands. Robert's pulse quickened. He pulled up more statements. Found another transfer. 6 months before that. $75,000. Same account. And another. And another. Over 2 years, Vanessa had wired nearly $400,000 to an offshore account. Robert grabbed his phone. Called Marcus Webb. Marcus, I need you to trace an offshore account. I need to know who owns it and what it's being used for. That's going to take time. Offshore accounts are protected. I don't care what it costs. I need this information. Yesterday. Because Robert had a feeling. Vanessa wasn't just stealing to fund a lifestyle. She was hiding money. And if he could prove she was hiding assets, he could prove intent to defraud. The case wouldn't die with the confession. It would get stronger. 3 weeks later, Marcus Webb spread documents across the conference table like he was revealing a royal flush. Mr. Harrison, you're going to want to see this. Robert leaned forward. His heart was pounding. The Cayman Islands account is registered to a shell corporation. VT Enterprises. Vanessa Torres is the sole owner and beneficiary. Marcus tapped the first document. But here's where it gets interesting. He slid over bank statements. She's been funneling money into this account for over 2 years. Not just from Elena's trust fund. She's also been running a separate scam. What kind of scam? Identity theft. She's been opening credit cards in Patricia Torres's name. Running up massive debt. Then paying the minimums with Elena's money to keep them active. Marcus's face was grim. She destroyed her own mother's credit to fund her lifestyle. Robert's hands clenched into fists. There's more. The offshore account has been making payments. Monthly transfers to various accounts. Marcus pulled up another document. A boyfriend in Miami. Rent on a second apartment in Los Angeles. She's been living a double life. Can we use this? Absolutely. This proves premeditation. Intent to defraud. Asset concealment. Her lawyers can't explain this away. Marcus smiled. Mr. Harrison, Vanessa Torres isn't walking away from this. She's going to prison for a very long time. 2 months later. The courtroom was packed. Media had gotten wind of the case. Billionaire's granddaughter found in poverty while guardian lives in luxury. Made for compelling headlines. Robert sat in the front row. He'd left Elena at home with a nanny. She didn't need to see this. Vanessa Torres entered in an orange jumpsuit. Her auburn hair was pulled back. No makeup. No designer clothes. She looked small. Ordinary. She didn't look at Robert. The prosecutor stood. Your Honor, the evidence is overwhelming. Ms. Torres embezzled over $2.3 million intended for the care of a minor child. She fraudulently obtained credit in her mother's name. She concealed assets in offshore accounts. She endangered a child through willful neglect. Vanessa's lawyer stood. Your Honor, my client acknowledges mistakes were made. She's willing to make full restitution. Mistakes? The prosecutor's voice cut through the courtroom. Ms. Torres left a 3-year-old child in the care of a woman with dementia while she vacationed in Cabo San Lucas. She stole from an orphaned baby. These aren't mistakes. This is calculated, deliberate fraud. The judge reviewed documents silently. Finally, she looked up. Ms. Torres, do you have anything to say before I deliver my sentence? Vanessa stood slowly. For a moment, Robert thought she might actually apologize. I did what I had to do, Vanessa said. That little girl was fine. She had food. She had shelter. Maybe it wasn't a mansion, but... Sit down, the judge said coldly. Vanessa's mouth snapped shut. I've reviewed the evidence extensively. The photographs of Elena's living conditions. The medical reports showing malnutrition and developmental delays. The financial records showing systematic theft. The judge's expression was stone. Ms. Torres, you exploited a grieving family's trust. You stole from a child. You endangered a vulnerable person for personal gain. The courtroom was silent. On the charges of wire fraud, embezzlement, identity theft, and child endangerment, I find you guilty on all counts. The judge paused. I hereby sentence you to 15 years in federal prison. No possibility of parole for at least 10 years. You are ordered to pay full restitution of $2.3 million plus interest and damages, totaling $3.1 million. Vanessa's face went white. Additionally, you are permanently prohibited from contact with Elena Harrison or any member of the Harrison family. The gavel came down. Vanessa crumpled. Bailiffs moved forward to escort her out. As she passed Robert's row, she finally looked at him. I hope you're happy, she hissed. Robert met her eyes. I'm not. But Elena will be. And that's all that matters. Robert sat on Elena's bed, reading her a story. She was 4 years old now. Her hair was longer, shinier. Her cheeks had color. She smiled more. Laughed more. She was still shy. Still cautious. Still had nightmares sometimes. But she was healing. Grandpa. Elena interrupted the story. Yes, sweetheart. Is the bad lady gone forever? Robert had told her a simplified version. That Miss Vanessa had done bad things and wouldn't be around anymore. Yes. She's gone. Forever. Good. Elena snuggled deeper into her blankets. Because I like it here. With you. Robert's throat tightened. I like having you here too. Will you always be here? You won't leave like Mommy and Daddy. God, that question. Elena, I can't promise I'll live forever. I'm old, sweetheart. But I can promise that I will be here as long as I possibly can. And I've made plans to make sure you're always taken care of. Always loved. Always safe. Robert kissed her forehead. You're stuck with me. Elena giggled. Good. She fell asleep clutching her rabbit and elephant. Robert watched her for a long moment. This little girl had survived so much. Neglect. Abandonment. Betrayal. And somehow she still had hope. Still had trust. Still had love to give. She was stronger than he'd ever been. A year later, Robert stood at a podium in front of 200 people. Students. Faculty. Donors. Press. Today, I'm honored to announce the establishment of the Daniel and Ruby Harrison Foundation for Vulnerable Youth. Robert's voice was steady. This foundation will provide housing, education, and support for children aging out of foster care or escaping neglect situations. Applause filled the auditorium. My son and daughter-in-law believed every child deserved a chance. A real chance. Not just financial support but presence. Love. Advocacy. Robert paused. I failed to give that to my granddaughter for too long. I thought money was enough. It wasn't. He looked at the front row. Elena sat there, now 5 years old, wearing a blue dress. She held her rabbit in her lap. She smiled at him. Robert smiled back. This foundation will ensure no child falls through the cracks the way Elena almost did. We'll provide social workers, therapists, educational support, and most importantly, people who show up. Because presence matters more than presence. More applause. After the speech, Elena ran up to him. "You did good, Grandpa." "Thank you, sweetheart." He picked her up. "Want to know a secret?" "What?" "When you're older, if you want, you can help run this foundation. Help other kids like you." Elena's eyes went wide. "Really? Really? If you want to." "I want to. I want to help everyone." Robert hugged her close. The money he'd sent Vanessa was gone. Spent. Wasted. But the $3.1 million in restitution? That became the foundation's seed funding. Vanessa's theft would ultimately help thousands of children. Justice wasn't just about punishment. It was about transformation. Robert and Elena sat on the back porch, watching fireflies. "Grandpa, do you think Mommy and Daddy can see me?" "From heaven." Robert wrapped an arm around her. "I think they can. And I think they're very proud of you. Even though I don't remember them? Especially because you don't remember them. Because you're kind and brave and strong all on your own." Robert kissed the top of her head. "You're exactly who they hoped you'd be." Elena was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I'm glad I found you, Grandpa." Robert's chest tightened. "I'm glad I found you too, sweetheart." But the truth was more complicated. He hadn't really found her. She'd been there all along. Waiting. Invisible. Forgotten. And he'd been too busy, too trusting, too absent to see her. The lesson wasn't just about Vanessa's betrayal. It was about his own. Money couldn't replace presence. Checks couldn't replace connection. Trust couldn't replace verification. Love required showing up. Every day. Even when it was inconvenient. Especially when it was inconvenient. Robert learned that lesson 17 years too late. But Elena, resilient, forgiving, hopeful Elena, gave him a second chance. Not every story gets a second chance. Robert wouldn't waste his. Elena's story could have ended differently. She could have been just another statistic. Another forgotten child lost in a broken system. But she wasn't. Because one person finally showed up. If this story moved you, if it made you think about the children in your own life who might need someone to show up, hit that subscribe button. We share stories like this every week. Stories about second chances, redemption, and the power of not giving up on people. Check out our other videos about remarkable acts of kindness that changed lives. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply be present. Drop a comment telling me what you learned from Robert and Elena's story. I read every single one. And remember, presence is the greatest present you can give. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next story.